Today we are taking a look at Marcelo Bielsa's Uruguay. He has started superbly well, beating Argentina and Brazil in the past few months, smashing Bolivia as well in the last international break. There's a couple of little tweaks and changes that he plays against teams that he's depending on kind of beating and having more of the ball. And then he's played us slightly differently with a couple of role tweaks, going a little bit more direct against teams against Brazil and Argentina with that highlight and using Dow and Nunes superbly well in those games. Let's dive into it. As always, as you can see, there is the tactic with all the PIs and the TIs. We're going to go through everything today. But if you want it as a direct download, you can join the Patreon just like all the people that are on the screen right now. Over 75 members now in the Patreon. Thank you very much for your support. Link down in the description. All right, everybody. So here it is, Bielsa Ball. Now, I've kind of used a little bit from the Bielsa video that I did back in FM24, was superbly successful and seemed to get good reviews, and then I've just tweaked it accordingly. Okay, so generally looking at the heat maps, it looks like a bit of a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. In particular, the Bentancur role in one of the pitches against Bolivia, and then the Agate role in the wins over Argentina and Brazil. So we're going to put him in as a halfback. And as you can see with the little screenshot on screen right now, it does look like he's coming inside in possession. And then we've kind of got this asymmetrical formation in the middle of midfield. Federico Valverde and Nicolas de la Cruz. And as you can see, Nicolas de la Cruz does get quite high in terms of his passing network in those three games. And we've kind of got a bit of an asymmetrical formation in there. So that's why we've got it looking like that. We know Valverde is really good in these wide areas. He did actually have a really interesting heat map as well that I'll put up from one of the games recently. And it just shows that he kind of avoided like the centre of the pitch and did go into those sort of like Mazzala roles. So that's why we've got him in as a Mazzala. So there we go. 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. Really direct in terms of wingers with the use of Palestri. There is a player called Maximiliano Araujo. He wasn't in the database, so I couldn't use him, unfortunately. But I've gone with Torres out there. Pace, directness in the wide players. Bundles of energy in Valverde, Ugarte. De la Cruz is someone that I've not been familiar with and has impressed really, really well. Or he's featured in all the games, and as you can see, up until that point, he'd only had 19 caps at the age of 26. So he's trying to make a couple of changes in and around the starting 11. Let's go into it. Sweeper keeper on support for Roche. No player instructions. Now, this is one of where a couple of rules change. I think in some of the bigger games, Araujo will go in here, and they have somebody called Cáceres. He's played a few of the games. I think he may come in at centre half with Araujo going out there, maybe as an inverted wing back on defend. Jimenez, obviously, as well. Two ball-playing defenders, but with the left-hand side as a stopper. They are very, very aggressive in the press. Defenders in particular coming out. There's an article in the Athletic that kind of showed both defenders coming out, taking it in turns, but coming out and really pressing and marking tightly. I didn't want to do both because that'll be a little bit of an overkill, so I've just gone with one. And then on left-hand side, you know, there's players like Vina, who I think was at Bournemouth last year on loan from Roma. There's also, where is he? Probably the main one as well, Mateus Oliveira. Good tackling, but also good crossing, decent physicals, 6 foot. We've got him as a complete wing back on a support, just so he can be a really good outlet on that left-hand side. Moving into the Agate role, we've gone with half-back on defend, but with the player instructions, take more risks. We want him to be aggressive because we want to be expressive. We want that ball going forward. A lot of passes at the moment, they are being quite direct. Not direct, but forward passes. So I don't want him getting it and giving it, getting and give it. Normally when Ngata gets on it, he's looking to feed balls into these four, or even at times a clip over the top. So that's why we've got take more risks on, tackle harder, mark tighter. We want mark tighter because we want to encourage that man-to-man orientated press. Into the Valverde. Now, once again, against the bigger teams, some of the games probably you might see in the World Cup, Brazil, Argentina, we may use the Carrilero rule potentially. We may change that. But we've just played Senegal. We're just going to play Senegal. I've actually already played that game. I lost Nunes and Jimenez to injuries, so I went back in it so I could show you the full team. But basically, in those games where we're expected to dominate the ball, then having Valverde as a Mazzala kind of makes sense. He's got the player trait of running down the right as well. So tackle harder, once again, mark tighter. Into the front four, Palestri on that right-hand side. I've got him as a winger attack. He is an outlet. Anytime they're kind of under pressure, they do kind of send him into the corners to run. Obviously, Nunes is going to do that as well, but we know Palestri with his time already at Manchester United, he's very direct, very pacey. Isn't that great in these areas. He wants them 1v1 scenarios as much as possible, getting in here, cutting balls back. So that's why we've got him on attack. De La Cruz, I've gone with, obviously, Mark Tighter. I've gone with Shadow Striker, but just because he gets in the goal, his second goal against Brazil, he's right in there. Nunes wins it down in the ball line and pulls it back. He's there in the 6-yard box to tap home. And a couple of, well, in the passing networks and sort of like the average positions, he's really high. So I thought the Shadow Striker was the best. I think, once again, in the other formations, you know, when they're playing against bigger teams, I can soon see him dropping into the midfield here and being a central midfielder on attack. That is De La Cruz. Left-hand side, inverted winger. We're going to allow that to roam from position and Mark Tighter. Mark Tighter, so help with the press. And just allow him to roam a little bit, come inside, get on the ball, and that will then allow Vina to get round that left-hand side. And then front, we've gone with Nunes, and we've just gone shoot more often because it is Darwin Nunes. He likes to let it go, doesn't he? All right. Into the playing instructions. This could be attacking because it's risk-taking. You know, their possession numbers haven't been great. And the teams are expected to beat Bolivia and a couple of the friendlies over sort of like 60%. Argentina, Brazil in and around 39%. And then the other teams were a little bit of a 50-50. You know, the better teams, the other stronger teams in South America, they're looking in around like between 45 and 50%. So not overly reliant on possession, so maybe attacking might just let you go a little bit direct at times. Fairly wide attacking width, which pass into space because we do want to encourage those runs of the wingers, the run of De La Cruz, maybe in a third man run, obviously Palestri down the right, and also obviously Darwin Nunes. Focus left and right. Now, I haven't got much to go on in terms of research. Now, that was all I had on in my Bielsa ball Leeds United tactic. Focusing the play out in the wide. He'll want to create those 1v1s with the two wingers because they're very aggressive. So we've left that on. By all means, you could take that off. Passing directness, I've got slightly shorter. We're playing Senegal today. I expect to beat them quite convincingly and dominate the ball. So that's why I've got slightly shorter on. I think when they go and play against some of the big teams, because they naturally, you know, the Brazilians will come onto you and play high line. With the pace of Nunes, Araujo on the left, and Palestri, they're obviously going to look and try and get in behind. De La Cruz as well. Can he get in those little pockets further up the pitch? So maybe a little bit more direct potentially would be a better option against the bigger sides if you want to keep that pure sort of like replication. Tempo, obviously higher. Never time wasting. Be more expressive. Leeds United, it was more working to the box. It was a little bit more intricate in those final thirds. But I do think the players at Uruguay do like that more aggressive nature. You want to fire balls into Nunes. I have put low crosses on because I don't think he's that great with his head. He does like those sort of like near post runs and sort of like stabbings, toe-ins, tap-ins from sort of like inside the 6-yard box. So that's why I've got that on. In transition, counter press and counter, obviously. Big thing on getting the ball back and I'm working extremely hard. Goalkeeper, left that blank, but I have taken short kicks and I've distributed to position. I want Ugarte to get on the ball. He's often the player that progresses the ball in build-up, so we're going to get him on it as much as possible. Out of possession, high line, high press, much more trigger press. We're not going to prevent the goalkeeper to do short distribution because we want him to play and then we're going to press and we're going to hunt them down. So we're not going to ask the goalkeeper, you know, to set up. We'll set up high, but can we just get him to play it short and then we'll go and hunt the ball back. Step up more potentially as well, in particular against sides that we're expecting to beat. Obviously, there's a little bit more caution. A couple of times, though, against Argentina, we're really snappy in the tackle in terms of the centre-halves going in and really sort of like engaging with attacking midfielders and centre-forwards that have dropped off. So by all means, get that one up as well to squeeze your team up a little bit higher. And then interestingly, the out-of-position instructions. I've done this. Now, when you actually go into the game, and I've just played a game, even though I had all this selected because I just wanted to see what it did, actually in-game, it doesn't actually do anything. You've got to then go into the player tactic itself. So if you go into your tactic, look, opposition instructions, nothing's on because it's for the players. We haven't got the players on. I don't know how this changes, but basically all you need to do is just click them icons and immediately the press sets up. So you could do this, and as you can see, it's changing in here. And we could say, right, for the first 10 minutes, we're going to have a really aggressive press. And all you need to do is just click that icon, which is for the position and not the player. There you go. So that does now mean that we're gonna really press in the opening stages of the game. So that's something that you could just tweak, have a little bit of fun. You know, teams don't press. Generally, Bielsa, he's probably one of the ones that tries to do it constantly, but teams generally do have intervals of a press and then dropping off and maybe to a mid-block. So there's one way of kind of getting it in. You can see with a couple of heat maps we've played Senegal twice just so we could replicate. Trying to get everyone fit for the game has been an absolute nightmare. But as you can see, there's a guy in the half-back row. Verdi in this sort of like right half space. We've got Palestri going long, which we want, and then Dela Cruz right up and around Darwin Núñez. All right, guys, that is it for today. Just a little bit of a quick one. Bielsa, it's gonna develop over time. I can't wait to see them on the world stage. Hopefully, you will stay until the 2026 World Cup. They're top of the World Cup qualifying group as well, so absolutely flying for that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Smash a like on today's video. Lots of more content as well coming out for the rest of the week. Streaming on Saturday night. We'll see you then. Take care.